Sarah was, to put it mildly, a force of nature. At 16, she possessed a drive and empathy that often dwarfed those of the adults around her. While her classmates were occupied with social media trends and weekend parties, Sarah's mind was consumed by a far more pressing concern: the plight of homeless animals. Her passion for animal welfare had ignited years ago, during a family visit to a local shelter. The sight of so many vulnerable creatures, yearning for love and care, had left an indelible mark on her young heart. From that moment on, Sarah dedicated herself to making a difference. She volunteered at the shelter every weekend, fostering abandoned kittens, and even started a small online campaign to raise funds for medical supplies. But Sarah dreamed bigger. She envisioned a large-scale event, one that would not only generate significant donations but also raise awareness about the urgent need for animal rescue and adoption within her own community. The idea for the Positive Change fundraising event took root quickly. Sarah envisioned a family-friendly afternoon filled with games, food, and, of course, adorable adoptable pets. She imagined bouncy castles for the kids, a bake sale overflowing with homemade treats, and a silent auction featuring donations from local businesses. But the biggest challenge was location. Sarah lived in the Willow Creek Estates, a meticulously maintained HOA community known for its pristine lawns and, unfortunately, its rather stringent rules. The community clubhouse, with its sprawling lawn, seemed like the perfect venue, but Sarah knew she would have to navigate a bureaucratic maze to secure it. Undeterred, she drafted a detailed proposal outlining her plans, emphasizing the charitable nature of the event and the positive impact it would have on the community. She even included a comprehensive plan for waste disposal and noise control, anticipating any potential concerns from the HOA. With her proposal meticulously crafted, Sarah embarked on the next phase, navigating the HOA approval process. This involved attending board meetings, presenting her plan to skeptical residents, and patiently answering a barrage of questions about everything from parking logistics to liability insurance. After weeks of persistent effort, she finally secured the necessary permits, a victory that felt monumental. Next came the advertising blitz. Sarah designed eye-catching flyers featuring adorable photos of shelter animals and distributed them throughout the community. She leveraged social media, creating a dedicated Facebook page for the event and posting regular updates. Word spread quickly, and soon, volunteers began to emerge from the woodwork. Neighbors offered to bake goods, help with setup, and even provide live music. Sarah was overwhelmed by the outpouring of support, her initial anxieties replaced by a surge of optimism. Everything seemed to be falling into place. That optimism, however, was soon to be tempered by the force of nature known as Karen. Karen was the president of the Willow Creek Estates HOA, and her name was synonymous with rigid adherence to rules, often to the point of absurdity. Stories of her nitpicking over lawn heights, fining residents for misplaced garbage cans, and demanding the removal of unsightly holiday decorations were legendary within the community. Some whispered that she actually enjoyed wielding her power, relishing the opportunity to enforce even the most trivial regulations. She saw the HOA not as a means of maintaining community standards, but as her personal fiefdom, where her word was law. While some residents admired her dedication to order, most found her to be an overbearing and unnecessarily critical presence. It was this Karen, the self-appointed guardian of Willow Creek Estate's pristine image, who now turned her attention to Sarah's Positive Change event. Sarah knew it was only a matter of time before Karen intervened. The summons came in the form of a terse email requesting a meeting to discuss the upcoming event. Sarah arrived at Karen's impeccably decorated home with a mixture of apprehension and determination. Karen greeted her with a tight smile and a clipboard filled with notes. "So, Sarah," she began, her voice laced with skepticism, "I understand you're planning some sort of gathering." She made the word gathering sound vaguely distasteful. She proceeded to grill Sarah on every aspect of the event, demanding to see copies of all permits, questioning the noise levels of the planned music, and expressing concern about potential damage to the clubhouse lawn. She even raised the issue of parking, suggesting that the event might disrupt the aesthetic flow of the neighborhood. Sarah patiently addressed each concern, presenting her documentation and reiterating her commitment to minimizing any disruption. Karen remained unconvinced, her expression suggesting that she was simply waiting for Sarah to slip up. Undeterred by Karen's frosty reception, Sarah resolved to address each and every one of her concerns. She spent the next few days tirelessly working to meet Karen's demands. To mitigate potential noise issues, she contacted a local sound engineer who volunteered to monitor the music levels and ensure they remained within acceptable limits. To protect the clubhouse lawn, she rented heavy-duty floor coverings and designated specific areas for high-traffic activities. The parking situation proved more challenging. After consulting with the HOA, Sarah arranged for shuttle services from a nearby parking lot to minimize congestion within the neighborhood. She even printed detailed maps for attendees, outlining designated parking areas and shuttle routes. She then compiled all the additional documentation and sent it to Karen, along with a polite email reiterating her commitment to a smooth and successful event. Sarah felt confident that she had done everything possible to appease the HOA president. She hoped, perhaps naively, that Karen would finally be satisfied and allow her to focus on the real purpose of the event, helping animals in need. The morning of the Positive Change event dawned bright and sunny, a perfect day for a community gathering. Sarah arrived at the clubhouse early, buzzing with nervous energy. Volunteers were already hard at work, setting up tables, inflating bouncy castles, and arranging the silent auction items. The air was filled with the aroma of freshly baked goods and the sound of cheerful chatter. As the official start time approached, attendees began to trickle in, families with children, dog lovers, and curious neighbors eager to support the cause. The atmosphere was electric. Children shrieked with delight as they bounced in the castle, while adults browsed the auction items and chatted with volunteers. Adoptable dogs from the local shelter were the stars of the show, wagging their tails and soaking up the attention. Sarah watched with a growing sense of pride and accomplishment as her vision came to life. It was even more wonderful than she had imagined. The community had come together to support a cause she deeply cared about, and the event was a resounding success. Just as Sarah was basking in the glow of the event's success, a dark cloud appeared on the horizon, Karen. She arrived in her signature power suit, her expression a mask of disapproval. Her eyes darted around, scanning for any infraction, any deviation from the meticulously crafted rules of Willow Creek Estates. Despite Sarah's diligent efforts, Karen seemed determined to find fault. She scrutinized the placement of the garbage cans, measured the distance between the bouncy castle and the designated boundary line, and even questioned the type of tablecloths used on the tables. She muttered under her breath about the unnecessary noise and the disorderly arrangement of the silent auction items. Although Sarah had addressed every concern Karen had raised prior to the event, the HOA president's dissatisfaction seemed to escalate with each passing minute. It was as if she was personally offended by the sight of so many people enjoying themselves in a way that she hadn't explicitly sanctioned. Finally, Karen cornered Sarah, her face flushed with indignation. "This is unacceptable," she declared, her voice rising above the cheerful din. "I've observed several blatant violations of HOA regulations." She pointed a finger at a seemingly innocuous detail. The approved signage size was 12 by 18 inches. "These signs are clearly larger. And," she continued, her voice dripping with disdain, "I distinctly recall a clause prohibiting the use of non-approved tablecloths on community property." Sarah, bewildered and frustrated, tried to explain that the sign size difference was negligible and that the tablecloths were clean and presentable. But Karen was having none of it. "These are the rules, Sarah," she insisted, "and they must be followed. I'm afraid I have no choice but to shut down this event immediately." She punctuated her pronouncement with a dramatic flourish, as if she were delivering a sentence of grave importance. Sarah stared at her in disbelief. After all her hard work, after all the effort she had put into complying with Karen's demands, it was all coming to an end over something as trivial as sign size and tablecloths. Karen's announcement sent a ripple of confusion and disappointment through the crowd. Volunteers, who had poured their hearts into the event, looked crestfallen. Attendees, unsure of what was happening, began to pack up their belongings, their initial enthusiasm replaced by bewildered resignation. Children, who had been happily playing just moments before, started to cry, their fun abruptly cut short. Sarah stood frozen, watching her carefully laid plans crumble before her eyes. The weight of the situation crashed down on her, crushing her spirit. The hours of planning, the countless meetings, the unwavering dedication, all of it seemed to have been for nothing. The vibrant atmosphere that had filled the clubhouse just minutes ago was now replaced by a pall of disappointment and frustration. The Positive Change event, meant to bring joy and support to homeless animals, was now a scene of disruption and heartbreak, all thanks to Karen's petty enforcement of meaningless rules. The devastation on Sarah's face was palpable. Just as the last remnants of hope seemed to fade, a black SUV pulled up to the curb, drawing attention away from the unfolding drama. A hush fell over the crowd as a figure emerged from the vehicle, surrounded by security personnel. It was Governor Thompson. Sarah had sent an invitation to the governor's office weeks ago, never truly expecting him to attend. But Governor Thompson, known for his commitment to community initiatives and animal welfare, had been touched by Sarah's story and decided to make an appearance. He had cleared his schedule to show his support for the Positive Change event. His arrival was completely unexpected, a twist of fate that would dramatically alter the course of the afternoon. The governor's presence instantly injected a new sense of importance and gravitas into the situation, a stark contrast to the petty squabble that had just unfolded. Karen's jaw dropped. Her meticulously crafted facade of authority crumbled as she recognized the governor. The color drained from her face, replaced by a look of utter disbelief. The realization that she had attempted to shut down an event attended by the governor, an event he publicly supported, hit her like a ton of bricks. The clipboard slipped from her grasp and clattered to the ground, the sound echoing in the sudden silence. She stammered, her carefully rehearsed pronouncements of HOA regulations dissolving into incoherent mumbles. The air of self-importance that had defined her moments before vanished, leaving her exposed and vulnerable. It was clear that she had been completely unaware of the governor's impending arrival, and the implications of her actions were now sinking in with brutal force. The magnitude of her misjudgment was breathtaking. Governor Thompson, sensing the palpable tension in the air, stepped forward, a warm smile spreading across his face. He walked directly toward Sarah, extending his hand. "Sarah," he said, his voice resonating with genuine admiration, "I've heard wonderful things about your dedication to animal welfare. This is a truly inspiring event, and I'm honored to be here." He then turned his attention to the crowd, his gaze sweeping over the faces of the attendees and volunteers. "It's heartening to see so many people come together to support such a worthy cause," he announced, his words carrying a gentle but unmistakable rebuke. "Sometimes," he continued, his eyes briefly flickering towards Karen, "we can get so caught up in the rules and regulations that we forget the bigger picture, the importance of compassion and community spirit." The message was clear: Karen's overzealous enforcement had been misguided and detrimental. He then refocused his attention on Sarah, praising her initiative and offering his full support to ensure the event continued successfully. The governor's words hung in the air, casting a spotlight on Karen's monumental blunder. The community, who had long endured her overbearing rule, now watched with a mixture of amusement and vindication as she squirmed under the weight of their collective gaze. The whispers started almost immediately, spreading through the crowd like wildfire. Karen stood awkwardly, her face a mask of forced composure. She attempted a weak smile, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. The air crackled with unspoken judgments. The very people she had so meticulously controlled were now witnessing her humiliation. The power dynamic had shifted dramatically, and Karen's reign of strict enforcement suddenly seemed absurd and out of touch. The embarrassment was palpable, a thick fog of awkwardness that enveloped her as she realized the full extent of her miscalculation. She desperately wanted to disappear, to rewind time and undo her disastrous intervention. With the governor's support, the event was quickly salvaged. He personally addressed the crowd, assuring them that the positive change event would continue without further interruption. His words were met with enthusiastic applause, a clear sign of the community's renewed support for Sarah and her cause. Volunteers, energized by the governor's presence and the community's rallying cry, sprang back into action. Tables were reset, bouncy castles re-inflated, and the joyful atmosphere began to return. Attendees, who had been on the verge of leaving, unpacked their belongings and rejoined the festivities. The governor even took the time to interact with the adoptable dogs, further boosting morale and attracting even more attention to the event. The community rallied behind Sarah, their initial disappointment transformed into a powerful display of solidarity. Karen's attempt to shut down the event had backfired spectacularly, resulting in an even stronger show of support for Sarah and her charity. The positive change event, against all odds, turned out to be an overwhelming success. The increased publicity generated by the governor's presence and the community's renewed enthusiasm led to a surge in donations. The silent auction items were snapped up at record prices, and the bake sale sold out within hours. By the end of the day, Sarah and her team had raised significantly more money than they had initially hoped for. The final tally exceeded all expectations, a testament to the community's generosity and Sarah's unwavering dedication. But the event's success wasn't just measured in dollars and cents. It also raised significant awareness for the local animal shelter, leading to a spike in adoption applications and volunteer inquiries. The positive change event had not only provided much-needed financial support but had also inspired countless individuals to get involved in animal welfare. Sarah's dream had not only come true but had surpassed even her wildest aspirations. The aftermath of the positive change event was significant. Karen, desperate to salvage her reputation, attempted to engage in damage control. She sent out a mass email to the community, praising the event's success and vaguely alluding to unforeseen circumstances that had initially caused a slight delay. However, few were fooled by her attempts at revisionist history. The community's perception of Karen had irrevocably changed. Her authority was diminished, and her pronouncements were now met with skepticism and even open defiance. Meanwhile, Sarah's star was on the rise. She was lauded as a local hero, her story featured in the local newspaper and even picked up by a regional news channel. She received countless messages of support and encouragement, further fueling her passion for animal welfare. The experience solidified her commitment to making a difference, and she began to explore new avenues for supporting her chosen charity. The positive change event had a profound and lasting impact on the Willow Creek Estates HOA. The community, emboldened by Sarah's success and Karen's public humiliation, began to question the HOA's rigid rules and regulations. A petition was circulated, calling for a review of the existing bylaws and a more flexible approach to community events. The movement gained momentum, fueled by a growing sense that the HOA had become too focused on control and not enough on fostering a sense of community. Some residents even suggested term limits for HOA board members, aiming to prevent any single individual from wielding unchecked power for too long. While Karen remained on the board, her influence had significantly diminished. The event had sparked a shift in community dynamics, empowering residents to challenge the status quo and advocate for a more inclusive and compassionate environment. The long-term impact was a move towards reforms within the HOA. Despite the initial setback and the challenges she faced, Sarah's resilience and determination shone through. The experience, both the good and the bad, only strengthened her resolve to make a difference in the lives of homeless animals. She didn't allow Karen's actions to discourage her or diminish her passion. Instead, she channeled her energy into expanding her charity work. She established a formal partnership with the local animal shelter, organizing regular adoption events and fundraising campaigns. She also started a youth volunteer program, inspiring other young people to get involved in animal welfare. Sarah's commitment was unwavering, a testament to her character and her unwavering belief in the power of compassion. She became a role model for her peers and a source of inspiration for the entire community, proving that even the most daunting obstacles can be overcome with resilience and determination. Sarah's story serves as a powerful reminder of several important lessons. First, it highlights the critical role of community support in achieving meaningful change. Without the outpouring of generosity and solidarity from her neighbors, the positive change event would never have reached its full potential. Second, it underscores the dangers of unchecked authority, particularly when wielded without empathy or a sense of perspective. Karen's actions serve as a cautionary tale about the importance of balancing rules and regulations with compassion and common sense. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, Sarah's journey demonstrates the incredible power of young people to make a difference in the world. Her unwavering dedication, her resilience in the face of adversity, and her commitment to her cause are an inspiration to us all. It is a reminder that age is no barrier to impact and that even the smallest actions can have a ripple effect, creating positive change in our communities and beyond.